The sky above Valar Prime turned black at noon. Not the black of night, but the black of a billion bodies blocking out the sun. Hana pressed her hand against the observation window and watched the darkness spread across the horizon like spilled ink. "How many ships?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. The alien beside her, a Talvik with blue skin and 4 arms, checked his scanner. His hands shook. "Not ships. Those are living creatures. The swarm has sent 3 million bioforms this time." Hana had been on Valar Prime for 2 years as Earth's xenobiologist. She studied alien plants and small creatures. She was not prepared for war. Nobody in the coalition was prepared for this. The swarm had appeared 6 months ago from the deep dark between galaxies. They did not talk. They did not negotiate. They simply consumed. Whole planets stripped bare in weeks. 12 worlds had already fallen, billions of lives gone. Across the city, alarms screamed. The Talvik coalition had 7 member species, each bringing their best weapons and smartest minds. It did not matter. Every battle ended the same way. The swarm adapted too quickly. Their ships healed damage in minutes. Their soldiers kept coming even when cut in half. Hana ran through the research facility toward the emergency bunker. Other scientists scrambled past her carrying data drives and precious samples. An explosion rocked the building. She fell, scraping her hands on the metal floor. Someone helped her up. It was Do Yun, a cargo ship captain she knew from the spaceport. "The orbital defense is already gone," he said, pulling her forward. "We have maybe an hour." "Where's Ambassador Tai Yang?" Hana asked. "In the council chamber. They're still arguing about surrender." They reached the bunker just as the second wave of explosions hit. The heavy doors sealed behind them with a hiss. Inside, hundreds of people crowded together. Aliens and humans mixed in the dim light, all wearing the same expression of terror. Hana found a corner and pulled out her tablet. Even now, even as death fell from the sky, she kept working. She had been studying the swarm's communication patterns. They used quantum resonance, each creature linked to every other across impossible distances. It made them perfect hunters. They knew what you would do before you did it. "Still working?" Do-Yun sat down beside her, offering a bottle of water. "I found something," Hana said. "In the old archives. Before the Coalition made first contact with Earth, they had encountered another species, an ancient race that left warnings carved into dead moons." "Warnings about what?" "About the swarm. They called them the Shepherds of Extinction. But the warnings also mentioned something else. They mentioned Earth." Do-Yun frowned. "What about Earth?" "The ancient race visited Earth once, millions of years ago. They found something there that terrified them. Something they called the demons that evolution made. They left coordinates. They left a message in Old Korean somehow. It said, 'When all hope dies, wake the sleeping beasts.'" Before Do-Yun could respond, the bunker's speakers crackled to life. Ambassador Taeyang's voice filled the space, tired and broken. "People of the Coalition, the Council has made a decision. We cannot win this war with our current forces. The swarm is too strong, too adaptive. We have one option left." Hana's heart raced. She knew what was coming. "We are sending a distress signal to Earth. Not a request for ships or soldiers. We are using the old codes, the forbidden words from the ancient archives. We are asking Earth to send whatever it keeps hidden, whatever frightened the old ones." The bunker went silent. Everyone knew Earth was strange. Humans were the newest members of the Coalition, only contacted 20 years ago. They were aggressive, competitive, and violent by galactic standards. But they followed the rules. They played nice. They kept their teeth hidden, until now. Taeyang continued, "I have argued against this. I have warned the Council about what they might unleash, but I am overruled." The message will be sent within the hour. The old tongue words will be used. Send your demons. The transmission ended. Hana looked at Do-hyun. His face had gone pale. Do you know what they're asking for? He whispered. Hana shook her head. I've only been away from Earth for 2 years. If there's something secret, some hidden program, I was never cleared to know about it. Above them, the sounds of battle grew closer. The swarm was breaking through the final defenses. Soon they would reach the bunkers. Soon it would all be over. Hana closed her eyes and thought about Earth. She thought about her home in the mountains, about forests filled with life, about oceans deep and dark. She thought about humanity's history, about all the monsters humans had killed to survive, and all the monsters humans had become. Somewhere in deep space, a message traveled faster than light toward a blue planet. The message carried coordinates, data about the swarm, and 3 words in an ancient dialect. On Earth, in a facility buried beneath mountains, alarms began to sound. Men and women in military uniforms rushed to their stations. Deep in the lowest levels, behind doors that had not opened in 15 years, something stirred in the darkness. The coalition had begged the stars for mercy. They did not know that Earth's mercy had teeth and claws and had been sleeping hungry for far too long. In the bunker on Valar Prime, Hana held her tablet close and waited. She waited for rescue or death. She waited to see what horror her own people would send. She did not have to wait long. General Sangho stood in the observation deck and watched the technicians prepare the awakening chambers. He had not slept in 40 hours. The decision had been made. After 15 years of silence, Project Reversion would open its eyes again. "Sir, the first handler is being brought up now," a young officer reported. Sangho nodded. His hands were steady, but his heart was not. He had built this program. He had convinced Earth's government it was necessary. He had also fought to shut it down when things went wrong. Now, with the Coalition's desperate message burning in his mind, he had to bring it all back. The chamber doors opened with a hiss of cold air. A man walked out, blinking in the bright lights. Hyunwoo looked exactly as he had 15 years ago. The cryo-sleep had preserved him perfectly. He was lean, muscular, covered in scars that doctors had offered to remove. He had refused. Every scar was a memory. "Where am I?" Hyunwoo asked, his voice rough from years of silence. "The Ark. You're home," Sangho said. "We need you again." Hyunwoo's eyes focused on the general. Recognition came slowly, then anger. "You promised. You said we were done. You said the program was over." "It was. It is. But something has happened out in the galaxy. Something that changes everything." Dr. Minji entered the room carrying a medical scanner. She looked older now, her hair touched with gray. She had been the one who opposed the program from the start. She had called it inhumane. She had been right. "His vitals are stable," she said, not looking at Sangho. "But I'm noting my objection again. These men and women gave up part of their humanity for this project. Waking them now is cruel." "More cruel than letting the Coalition die?" Sangho asked. Minji had no answer for that. Over the next 6 hours, 7 more handlers were awakened. Each had been chosen years ago for their unique abilities. Soldiers who could think like predators. People who did not fear death. Men and women who could bond with creatures that should not exist. In the briefing room, Sangho explained everything. He showed them footage of the swarm destroying Coalition worlds. He played the desperate message. He showed them the old archives about Earth and the ancient warnings. Project Reversion was created after first contact, Sangho began. When we met the Coalition, we realized humanity was the newest and weakest member. Other species had centuries of technology ahead of us. We needed an advantage, something uniquely human. A hologram appeared, showing DNA strands twisting and combining. Dr. Minji and her team discovered how to resurrect extinct Earth species using preserved DNA. But we didn't just bring them back, we enhanced them, made them stronger, faster, more intelligent. And then we did something the Coalition would consider insane. We bonded them with human handlers. Hyunwoo leaned forward. Bonded how? Minji took over the explanation. Neural linking. We created an organic technology that connects your brain directly to the creature's nervous system. You feel what they feel. You think what they think. Over time, you become a hybrid consciousness, part human, part predator. The handlers exchanged glances. They remembered. The bond had been beautiful and terrible. It had been like falling in love and losing your mind at the same time. "What species did you bring back?" asked Soman. A handler who had bonded with what the files called a terror bird. The hologram changed, showing creatures from Earth's ancient past. Massive wolves with teeth like daggers, birds taller than humans with beaks that could crack bone, cats with fangs reaching past their jaws, sharks the size of buses with skin that could deflect bullets. Dire wolves for pack tactics, terror birds for boarding actions, saber-toothed cats for stealth, megalodon sharks for naval combat, Sangho listed. Each of you bonded with a different species. Each of you became something new. And you shut us down because we became too dangerous, Hyunwoo said. It was not a question. Sangho met his eyes. Yes, the bond changed you, made you aggressive, made you think in ways that scared us. We decided the cost was too high. But now the cost of not using us is higher, Hyunwoo finished. The Coalition is dying. They've begged for help. They used the old words. They asked for demons. Sangho's voice was hard. Earth's government has debated for 2 days. The vote was close. But it passed. You are being reactivated. All of you. Silence filled the room. The handlers looked at each other, communicating in the way only they could. They had been pack once. They had hunted together in training. They had known what it meant to be more and less than human. "What about them?" Soman asked. "Our partners. Are they still alive?" Minji nodded slowly. "In stasis. We couldn't bear to destroy them. They're in the lower levels, waiting." Hyunwoo stood up. His body moved differently now, more fluid, more predatory. The bond had been dormant, but it had never truly gone away. "When do we deploy?" 3 days. The carriers are being prepared. You'll have 72 hours to rebond and train. Then you ship out to Valar Prime. "And if we refuse?" asked another handler. Sangho had prepared for this question. "Then you return to cryo-sleep with full honors. No punishment. But you should know without you the Coalition falls. And the swarm doesn't stop. Eventually they reach Earth. Eventually everyone dies." No one chose to return to sleep. That night, the handlers descended to the lower levels. The stasis chambers lined the walls, each containing a creature from another age. Hyunwoo found his pack first. 3 dire wolves, each weighing over 300 pounds, frozen in time. He pressed his hand against the glass. He felt something stir in his mind, a distant echo, a howl that had been silent for 15 years. "I missed you too," he whispered. Dr. Minji supervised the awakening process. One by one, the ancient predators opened their eyes in a world that had moved on without them. They were confused at first, then angry, then calm as they sensed their handlers nearby. When Hyunwoo's pack was released from their chambers, they circled him slowly. The largest, a massive male with gray fur, approached first. He sniffed Hyunwoo's hand, then his face. Recognition flared in yellow eyes. The bond snapped back into place like a rubber band stretched to breaking. Hyunwoo gasped as sensations flooded his mind. Hunger, confusion, joy at reunion, the need to run, to hunt, to kill. He dropped to his knees, and the wolves surrounded him. They pressed against him, whining and licking his face. He buried his hands in their fur and felt complete for the first time in 15 years. Across the facility, similar reunions happened. Soman's terror bird recognized her scent and shrieked with happiness. The saber-toothed cats purred like thunder when their handlers approached. In special water tanks, the megalodons circled restlessly, sensing their partners through walls of glass and steel. General Sangho watched it all from the observation deck. Dr. Minji stood beside him, arms crossed. "We're monsters for doing this," she said quietly. "Maybe," Sangho agreed, "but we're the monsters they asked for." On the third day, the message was sent back to the Coalition. It was short. It was simple. It terrified every species that intercepted it. "Mercy has teeth. We're coming!" The carriers launched that night, carrying warriors who were no longer fully human and beasts that should have stayed extinct. They jumped to faster-than-light speed, heading toward a war zone where things would die screaming. In his bunk, Hyun-woo lay with his pack. The wolves slept around him, their breathing synchronized with his. In his dreams, he ran through forests under a moon that had not existed for millions of years. He was going to war. He was going to save the galaxy. He just hoped something of himself would survive it. Hana had been living in bunkers for 3 weeks when the sensors detected something new. The Coalition defense officer, a tough woman named Yuna, stared at her screen with confusion, turning to alarm. "3 ships just dropped out of FTL, Yuna said. "Earth signatures. But they're not like any Earth ships in our database." Hana rushed to look at the display. The ships were massive, each the size of a small city, but their design was wrong. Too organic, too alive. They looked like they had been grown rather than built, with curves and ridges that reminded her of bone structure. "What are those?" Yuna demanded. "I don't know," Hana admitted. "I've never seen anything like them." Do-Yun's voice crackled over the radio. He had volunteered to stay on his cargo ship in orbit, helping with evacuations. "Hana, you need to see this. The Earth carriers are opening their bay doors." The holographic display zoomed in. The carrier's sides split open like flowers blooming, and from inside, hundreds of objects began launching into space. They were pods, each about the size of a bus, glowing with heat as they accelerated toward the swarm fleet. The swarm had been circling Valar Prime for days, slowly tightening the noose. 3 million bioships, each a living weapon. They detected the Earth pods and moved to intercept. Hana watched as swarm fighters swarmed toward the incoming projectiles. Then the pods opened. What came out made Hana's breath catch in her throat. They were not soldiers in armor. They were not drones or missiles. They were creatures. Massive, impossibly fast, moving through space on platforms that generated localized atmosphere and gravity fields. "Are those animals?" Yuna whispered. The first wave hit the swarm line like a hammer. Giant wolves, each bonded to a human handler riding on their backs, tore into swarm bioships with claws that cut through organic armor. Birds, the size of small shuttles with riders directing their attacks, used beaks like spears to punch through hulls. But it was the coordination that shocked everyone watching. The creatures moved as units, as packs, with perfect timing. They hunted the swarm the way predators had hunted prey on Earth for millions of years. "What is this?" Yuna asked again, her voice shaking. "What has Earth sent us?" Hana could not answer. She could only watch as the battle unfolded. On the lead carrier, Hyun-woo held tight to his pack leader's fur as they jumped from the deployment pod into open space. The platform beneath them generated air and gravity in a bubble, allowing the wolves to run and leap as if on solid ground. It was insane technology. It was impossible technology. It was human technology. Through the bond, Hyun-woo felt everything his wolves felt, the excitement of the hunt, the focus of the pack, the pure joy of doing what they were born to do. His own thoughts mixed with theirs until he could not tell where he ended and they began. "North Pack, form up on me," he said into his comm. "We're boarding the lead bioship." His wolves howled in response. Other handlers acknowledged. Soman and her terror bird swept past, heading for a different target. A handler named Quan rode one of the saber-toothed cats, using its stealth capabilities to approach unseen. The wolves hit the bioship's hull running. Their claws, enhanced with the same technology as the platforms, tore through the organic armor. They found an opening and dove inside. The interior of a swarm ship was like being inside a living thing. Walls pulsed. The air was thick with moisture. Swarm soldiers scuttled through corridors, surprised by the invasion. Hyunwoo's pack went to work. The wolves moved faster than anything the swarm had ever faced. They struck from shadows, vanished around corners, worked together to bring down creatures 3 times their size. Hyunwoo fired his weapon at targets the pack could not reach, but mostly he just held on and felt the rush of the hunt. Through the bond, he knew where each wolf was. He felt their heartbeats. He tasted blood in his mouth when they made kills. He howled with them when they cornered a group of swarm soldiers and finished them in seconds. This was what the Coalition had asked for. This was what they had begged for. Raw, primal violence from Earth's deep past, guided by human intelligence and enhanced by impossible technology. Outside the ship, the battle raged. On Velar Prime's moon, which had methane seas, something massive moved through the liquid darkness. The Megalodon-class weapons had been deployed there, bonded handlers riding in sealed chambers on their backs. The giant sharks, each 50 feet long, hunted swarm submarines with ancient efficiency. A handler named Yunji directed her Megalodon toward a swarm hive ship that had submerged to hide. The shark's enhanced senses found it instantly. The attack was brutal and quick. The hive ship's bioarmor meant nothing against jaws that had once ruled Earth's oceans. Back in the bunker, Hana watched the tactical display update. The swarm forces, which had been pressing forward, had stopped. Then, impossibly, they began to retreat. "They're pulling back," Yuna said, disbelief in her voice. "The swarm is retreating." "That's not possible," another officer said. "The swarm doesn't retreat, ever." But the sensors did not lie. Swarm ships were breaking off engagement and jumping to FTL. Not all of them. Many stayed to fight and died, but enough retreated that the pressure on Velar Prime's defenses eased for the first time in weeks. Do Yun's voice came over the comm. "Hana, I'm picking up quantum resonance patterns. The swarm is communicating something. It's like an emotion, transmitted across their network." "What emotion?" Hana asked. "Fear." Inside the bioship, Yunwoo felt it too. The swarm soldiers they encountered started acting differently, more desperate, more panicked. They were no longer attacking with coordination. They were just trying to escape. His pack cornered the last group near the ship's core. The swarm creatures huddled together, their quantum communication sending distress signals. Through the bond, Hyunwoo felt his wolves' confusion. Prey did not usually give up like this. "Stand down," Hyunwoo ordered. His wolves stopped, though every instinct told them to finish the hunt. He approached the swarm soldiers slowly. They watched him with compound eyes that showed genuine fear. He had never seen that before. The swarm was supposed to be fearless. "You remember us, don't you?" Hyunwoo said quietly. "Not me specifically, but what we represent. Earth's predators. You've met us before, haven't you? Millions of years ago." The swarm soldiers made no sound, but their quantum resonance changed. It was not a word. It was not even a thought. But Hyunwoo understood it through the bond, through the predator instincts flowing through his mind. Yes, they remembered. The old terror, the demons from the death world, the things that hunted them when their species was young. Hyunwoo turned away. "Pack, we're leaving. The ship is ours." His wolves followed, though they whined with disappointment. There was still prey here, still things to hunt. But Hyunwoo was the alpha, and they followed the alpha. The battle ended 6 hours after it started. The swarm had lost thousands of ships. Earth's forces had lost 2 handlers and their bonded partners. Hyunwoo had felt those deaths through the pack network, brief flashes of pain, then silence. He knew their names. He knew their packs, the cost of victory. On Valar Prime, the coalition began emerging from bunkers. They looked up at the sky, now clear of swarm ships, and did not know whether to cheer or cry. Hana stood on the surface, feeling real sunlight for the first time in weeks. The Earth carriers hung in orbit like sleeping giants. She thought about what they contained, about what humanity had kept secret all these years. Yuna approached, her expression conflicted. "You saved us," she said. "Your people saved us." "Yes," Hana replied. "But what you sent—" Yuna trailed off. "Those things, those creatures, what are they?" Hana looked at the orbital display where handlers were returning to their carriers. She saw Hyunwoo's pack landing in a bay, the wolves tired but satisfied. She saw Somin's terror bird preening its feathers. She saw the megalodons circling in their tanks. "They are what you asked for," Hana said quietly. "They are the demons that Earth keeps caged. They're the answer to prayers that should never be spoken." Yuna was silent for a long moment. "And can they stop the swarm completely?" Hana did not know, but she knew that humanity had revealed its teeth to the galaxy, and the galaxy would never look at Earth the same way again. Ambassador Taiyang walked through the carrier's medical bay and tried not to show his horror. The handlers lay in recovery pods, their vital signs displayed on screens above their heads. They were physically fine. Mentally was another question. "How bad is it?" he asked Dr. Minji. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, hands shaking from too much caffeine and too little sleep. "3 of them are showing advanced bonding symptoms. They're thinking more like their partners than like humans." One of them growled at a nurse. Actually growled. "Which one?" "Jisoo. She's bonded to a terror bird. Before the battle, she was quiet, professional. Now she's aggressive, territorial, and she's been eating her food raw." Taeyang closed his eyes. This was what he had warned the coalition about. This was why Earth had shut down Project Reversion. The neural bonding was not stable over time. The handlers did not just share thoughts with their partners. They became them. "What about Hyunwoo?" he asked. "He's the most stable, but that's not saying much. He refers to his wolves as we now instead of them. He's been sleeping on the floor instead of his bunk. And yesterday, I caught him marking territory in his quarters." "Marking? I'm not going to explain how. You can imagine." General Sangho entered the medical bay, looking as tired as everyone else. "We have a problem. The swarm didn't just retreat from Valar Prime. They left a trail, a clear path through space, almost like they want us to follow." "It's a trap," Taeyang said immediately. "Of course it's a trap, but the Coalition Council wants us to pursue. They think we can end this war now while we have the advantage." "We don't have an advantage," Dr. Minji snapped. "We have 8 handlers who are losing their humanity more with each battle. Do you know what happens if the bonding process completes? They stop being human entirely. They become something else. Something that can win this war," Sangho said quietly. "At what cost?" Taeyang demanded. "These are people, soldiers who volunteered for this program, trusting us to keep them safe. And we're using them until there's nothing left of who they were." The argument was interrupted by alarms. Someone was screaming in the corridor outside. The 3 of them rushed out to find Jisoo standing over a coalition officer. Her eyes were wild, pupils dilated, and her hands were shaped like claws. "He startled me," she said, but her voice was wrong. Higher pitched, almost like a bird's shriek. "He approached from behind. Prey doesn't approach from behind." 2 security guards had weapons drawn but looked uncertain. Dr. Minji stepped forward slowly, hands visible and non-threatening. Jisoo, I need you to focus. Look at me. Remember your name. Remember who you are. I am... Jisoo struggled with the words. Flock. I am Flock. We are Flock. No, you are Jisoo. You're human. You have a family on Earth. A sister named Mira. A father who taught you to play piano. Something flickered in Jisoo's eyes. Human awareness fighting with bird instincts. She looked down at the officer she had attacked. He was bleeding from scratches on his face, but alive. I hurt him, she whispered, and this time her voice was her own. Then she collapsed, sobbing. Dr. Minji caught her and helped her to the medical bay. Sangho dismissed the guards and helped the injured officer to his feet. Taeyang pulled Sangho aside. We have to stop this. We have to pull them out before it's too late. It's already too late, Sangho said. We've committed to this course. The coalition is counting on us, and the swarm trail leads to something. Hana's analysis suggests it goes to their home nest. Hana? She came up to the carrier yesterday. She's been studying swarm behavior. She thinks they're not running away. They're leading us somewhere specific. In the observation deck, Hana stood with Do-hyun, looking at star charts. The swarm's retreat path was marked in red. It led toward a region of space the coalition had never fully explored. If they're leading us to their nest world, why? Do-hyun asked. Why would they show us their most vulnerable location? Maybe they're desperate, Hana said. Or maybe they want to talk. The swarm doesn't talk. They didn't talk, but they're acting differently now. They're afraid. Fear changes behavior. A comm signal beeped. It was Hyunwoo asking Hana to come to the handler quarters. She went, curious and nervous. She found him sitting on the floor with his pack. The wolves lay around him in a circle. Their breathing synchronized. When Hyunwoo looked up at her, his eyes were more yellow than brown. The bond was changing him physically now. I can feel them, he said without preamble. The swarm. Through the quantum resonance, my pack is picking up on it. What are you feeling? Desperation and something else. Memory. The swarm remembers Earth's predators, not from recent history, from deep time. Millions of years ago, something from Earth found the swarm in space. Something hunted them, almost made them extinct. Hana sat down slowly. You think Earth's predators have been out here before? I think evolution didn't just happen on Earth. I think something seeded predators throughout the galaxy. A biological control system. When a species like the swarm grows too large, too aggressive, the predators activate. That's incredible. If it's true, it means we're not the first, Hyunwoo interrupted. Earth's ancient predators, the ones that went extinct in the fossil record. Maybe they didn't go extinct. Maybe they left. Maybe they're still out here somewhere. The wolves raised their heads as one, looking toward the viewport. Hyunwoo stood up, moving with inhuman grace. The Swarm Queen wants to meet, he said. She's sending a message through the quantum network. She'll only talk to the pack leaders, to us. That could be a trap. Hyunwoo smiled, and it was not entirely human. Of course it's a trap, but we're going anyway. The fleet moved deeper into unexplored space, following the swarm trail. 3 days later, they found it. A planet-sized hive, organic and pulsing, covered in biostructures that reached into orbit. Millions of swarm ships circled it protectively, but they did not attack when the Earth carriers approached. They waited. Taeyang stood on the carrier's bridge, feeling the weight of command. This is insane. We should destroy it now, while we can. We need to know what they want, Sangho argued. Information wins wars. Dr. Minji looked at the handlers assembled in the deployment bay. Jisoo was heavily medicated, barely functional. 2 others showed advanced bonding symptoms. Only Hyunwoo seemed stable, but stable was a relative term. He was more wolf than man now. If we send them down there, we might lose them entirely, she said. The Swarm Queen could corrupt the neural bonds. She could turn them against us. Then what do you suggest? Sangho asked. I suggest we remember they're human, Minji said, and we give them a choice. In the deployment bay, the handlers gathered with their partners. Hyunwoo stood before them, his pack at his side. He could feel their thoughts now as clearly as his own. The line between individual and collective had blurred. The Queen wants to talk, he told them. Going down there is dangerous. The bonding process might complete. We might not come back as ourselves. Somin stepped forward, her terror bird shrieking softly. What does the pack think? Hyunwoo closed his eyes, reaching through the network that connected all the handlers and their partners. He felt their opinions, their fears, their determination. The pack thinks we finish what we started, he said. We hunt to the end. They deployed 2 hours later. Pods falling toward the hive planet, carrying predators and their human partners into the heart of the swarm's domain. Taeyang watched them go and wondered if he would ever see any of them again. Wondered if Earth had just sacrificed 8 people to save the galaxy. Wondered what mercy really cost. The inside of the hive planet was like walking through the throat of a living god. Walls breathed. The floor pulsed with something that might have been a heartbeat. Hyunwoo led his pack through corridors that twisted and changed, following the quantum signal that called them deeper. Behind him, the other handlers moved in formation. Somin's terror bird picked its way carefully, head swiveling to track movement. Kwan's saber-toothed cat prowled in shadows. They were deep in enemy territory, surrounded by millions of swarm creatures. But nothing attacked them. They were expected. Through the bond, Hyunwoo felt his wolves' confusion. This was wrong. Prey should run or fight, not invite predators into their home. But they followed him anyway, trusting his judgment even as his judgment became less human by the hour. The corridor opened into a vast chamber. The ceiling stretched hundreds of meters above, covered in bioluminescent growths that provided sickly green light. And in the center, on a throne of organic matter that looked like twisted bone, sat the Swarm Queen. She was massive, 20 meters tall, with a body that combined features of every swarm creature Hyunwoo had seen. Wings folded against her back. Multiple limbs arranged in patterns that hurt to look at. Eyes, dozens of them, all focusing on the handlers and their partners. When she spoke, it was not with sound. Her voice came through the quantum network, directly into their minds. Welcome, ancient enemy. Welcome, sleeping death. Welcome, child of the terror world. Hyunwoo stepped forward. His wolves growled low but did not attack. Through the bond, he felt his pack's presence across the fleet in orbit. All the handlers connected, all the predators alert. Why did you lead us here? He asked. Why not fight? Because fighting you is pointless, the Queen answered. Your kind cannot be beaten by force. You were designed to be unbeatable, designed by those who came before, who seeded the galaxy with biological weapons disguised as evolution. Hana's voice came through Hyunwoo's comm, patched in from orbit. She's confirming your theory. Earth's predators were seeded intentionally. The Queen's attention shifted slightly. The scientist speaks. Yes, little thinker. Your world was chosen, seeded with apex predators and left to evolve. A weapons factory disguised as a planet. And now you have found the trigger inside yourselves. Now you wake the ancient protocols. What protocols? Hyunwoo demanded. The culling. When a species grows too aggressive, spreads too far, consumes too much, the predators activate. They hunt. They kill. They bring balance. My species learned this lesson millions of years ago. We were nearly extinct before we learned to hide, to stay small, to avoid the detection of death. The Queen leaned forward, her many eyes narrowing. But your coalition expanded into our nursery space. They threatened our young. We had no choice but to defend ourselves. And in defending ourselves, we triggered you. Soman's voice was tight with anger. You killed billions, you destroyed worlds, and you have killed millions of us. We are even. Through the bond, Yunwu felt the rage of the other handlers, felt their desire to finish this, to tear the queen apart and end the swarm forever. His wolves were ready. Every predator in the chamber was ready. But something held him back. A thought that was his own, or maybe was shared across the pack network. A question that mattered. What happens if we kill you? Yunwu asked. The swarm dies with you? Yes. The neural network collapses. Every swarm creature becomes non-functional. You achieve total victory. Then why are you telling us this? The Queen's quantum voice carried something that might have been sadness. Because I am tired. Because my species has been hunted across the galaxy for eons. Because I have seen what happens when predators like you are unleashed. You do not stop at victory. You pursue, you hunt, you exterminate. She gestured with one limb toward a wall. It became transparent, showing coalition space, showing the hundreds of species living in peace, showing Earth in the distance, blue and green and beautiful. If you kill me now, you save the coalition, but you condemn yourselves. The bonding process will complete. You will stop being human. You will become pure predator, pure weapon. And eventually, you will turn on your own people. The ancient protocols do not distinguish between prey species. Dr. Minji's voice came through sharp with fear. She's right. The neurological data supports this. If the bonding completes, you won't be able to turn it off. You'll be threat-responsive killers for the rest of your lives. Ambassador Taeyang added, Hyunwoo, you need to come back. We can negotiate terms with the swarm. We don't need to finish this with violence. But General Sangho's voice cut through. This is our chance to end the threat permanently. Handler team, you have authorization for terminal action. Hyunwoo stood still, caught between voices, between human logic and pack instinct, between mercy and survival. Through the bond, he felt his wolves waiting for his decision, felt the other handlers and their partners waiting. He looked at the Queen. You said we were designed. By who? The Makers, an ancient species who shaped life across the galaxy according to their grand design. They are gone now, ascended or extinct, but their weapons remain. You are one of those weapons, designed to activate when needed, then sleep again. And if we spare you? What then? The Queen's quantum resonance changed, became almost hopeful. We establish boundaries, territory for the swarm, territory for the coalition, monitored borders. My species will never expand beyond our designated space. In exchange, you and your packs go dormant again. The bonding process is reversed before it completes. Soman moved beside Hyunwoo. Her terror bird was agitated, ready to strike. Can we trust her? Through the pack network, Hyunwoo reached out to all the handlers. He felt their thoughts, their opinions, their fears. They were barely human now. A few more battles and they would cross the line permanently, but they were still human enough to choose. We accept, Hyunwoo said. Sangho's voice exploded over the comm. Handler 1, you do not have authorization to negotiate. You are ordered to eliminate the target. No, sir, Hyunwoo said calmly. We're predators, not murderers, and we're human enough to know the difference. The Queen rose from her throne. The boundaries will be established. The ceasefire begins now. Your coalition is safe. And our handlers? Dr. Minji asked. Can the bonding be reversed? The scientist must work quickly. There is a narrow window. But yes, if she acts now, your people can be saved. The retreat happened slowly. The handlers backed out of the chamber, their partners alert for treachery. But the swarm did not attack. The Queen watched them go with her many eyes, and through the quantum network she sent one final message. Thank you, ancient enemy. Thank you for choosing mercy." Back on the carrier, Dr. Minji worked frantically. The procedure to partially sever the neural bonds was experimental and dangerous. 2 handlers chose not to undergo it. Jisoo was one of them. She had gone too far into the bond, found something there she did not want to leave. "I can still serve," she said, her voice a mixture of human and bird. "The coalition will need defenders, and I understand my partner now. We're better together." Hyun-woo underwent the procedure. It felt like losing a limb, like cutting away part of his soul. When it was done, the bond was still there, but muted, manageable. He could feel his wolves in the back of his mind, but not drowning in their instincts. The pack was separated from the handlers, placed in a sanctuary on a remote world. Hyun-woo was allowed to visit once a month. It was not enough, it would never be enough, but it was better than losing himself entirely. The coalition and the swarm established borders. Monitoring stations were built. An uneasy peace settled across the galaxy. The coalition had survived, but everyone knew the cost. 6 months later, Hana visited the sanctuary. She found Hyun-woo sitting on a hillside, watching his pack hunt in the valley below. They had adapted well to freedom. They seemed happy. "Do you regret it?" she asked, sitting beside him. "Which part? Bonding with them? Going to war? Choosing mercy?" "Any of it." Hyun-woo was quiet for a long time. In his mind, he still felt echoes of the bond, still dreamed of running on 4 legs through forests, still tasted the thrill of the hunt. "I saved the coalition," he finally said. "But who I was before, that person died in the dark, died fighting, died becoming something else. Was it worth it?" He looked at his wolves, free and wild, looked at the sky where ships traveled between worlds in peace, looked at his hands, human again, mostly. They begged for mercy, and we answered. That's what we do. That's what Earth does. We send our demons when the universe needs saving, and we pay the price so others don't have to. Hana did not have a response to that. They sat together in silence, watching the wolves hunt. In coalition space, a monument was erected on Valor Prime. It was simple, made of stone, with words carved in Old Earth Korean and coalition standard. Here mercy came with claws. Here Earth answered the prayers that should never be spoken. Here defenders became monsters so others could remain innocent. May we never forget what they sacrificed. May we never need to call them again. But in the deepest archives, in files marked for emergency access only, the data on Project Reversion remained intact. The genetic sequences, the bonding protocols, the procedures to wake sleeping predators, just in case. Because the galaxy was large and dark, because threats would come again, because sometimes mercy needed teeth to be real, and Earth would answer when called. The beasts would wake, the hunters would return. That was the promise. That was the price. That was what it meant to be human in a universe that needed monsters to survive.